Hello everyone. So this is a video about what 60 countries have taught me about humans in general and how I've applied this into B2B SaaS copywriting and content and how these discoveries have led me to really help my clients get a lot more demos that they have before I implemented these strategies. Anyways, stick around through at the end of this video because a lot of this information is good. I think that it's not talked about in very many places on the internet, and you definitely want to stick around because I think that everyone watching this will extract boatloads of value from this. Alright, so I've taken the cheapest trains through India and played cricket in Bangladesh village borders. Now, if you don't believe me, that's alright. I look a little young. I'm about to be 24. So you don't have to believe me, but here's some proof. This was in India. This is a cheap train I took. Go back a little bit, and you'll eventually get to Bangladesh. And this was me playing cricket in a. So, even going to about 60 countries at this point, and seeing how all kinds of different people live, from really rich Scandinavian countries to really poor rural parts of South Asia, I realized that even though we're all different from the outside, meaning how we dress, how we speak different languages, different food, our fundamental nature, which kind of persuades us to act and be motivated, is fundamentally similar. And I think that most business advice ignores this, and they overcomplicate it with frameworks, funnels, and innovative disruption. Yet the businesses that actually work, no matter where you are in the world, the key is to understanding the fundamental drivers of human behavior. I'm going to be talking about how I recommend implementing this into your messaging. So trust is built differently everywhere, but the foundation is universal no matter where you go in the world. So for instance, in many parts of Asia, and also the Middle East, if you're in their bloodline from a young age, I would say that trust, is primarily gifted from blood ties. However, with close friends, it takes them a little bit longer to build trust. But in different parts of the world, like ultra-capitalist United States, it's kind of like where trust is more based on competence and credentials and the impression and also proof that you know what you're doing. And I'd say that especially in America, this level of trust extends beyond the casual world and goes into the business world as well. And I just talked about this, but every market needs a sound foundation. And this foundation is consistency, reliability, and doing what you said you would do. So for instance, if you're a company selling some kind of software, make sure that all of the outcomes that you propose in your content stays consistent to what you actually propose. So for example, if you will grant people an average of 60% efficiency raises in your project completion rate, make sure that that's accurate. Make sure that that's reliable, that the client who buys your product will most likely be able to achieve that amount of work, that amount of efficiency boost. If you say that you'll do consulting, actually do what you said you'd do. The ideal customer profile isn't just demographics, it's how they build trust. So ask yourself, does your market want to see proof of your expertise first? Do you have case studies, certifications? Do they want to experience your product first? Free trials, demos, so they know what you're all about and they know that you can actually provide value. Do they need social proof? Do they need to see you have partners? Do they need to see testimonials? Etc., etc., etc. And I'd say universally trust is everywhere no matter where you go. However, I'd say that the way how you communicate it per se is a little bit different from place to place. Maybe in some East Asian countries like Japan, it's a little bit more quiet. Instead of being so loud and direct, you would show it through actions more and show it more to be more loud around your close friends. I don't know, that's just an example. Another thing to focus on is that everyone's fighting battles that you can't see. No, what in the world does this mean? If you look at the amount of people that have mental health disorders worldwide, it's about 1 in 7 people. So every So every person out of one person out of 7 people you meet, no matter where you live in the world, faces a mental disorder, which makes their life unnecessarily harder in a social aspect or emotional aspect than the other 6 and 7 people that you meet. But they may not show that right off the bat. No, what is the point of this? The point of this is empathy. They could be dealing with all of this, but how exactly do you implement it into your business? I would say build this into your customer success process, meaning be empathetic, but instead of jumping to solutions, ask what's the biggest challenge you're facing right now? Ask this directly to your customer. Is this a business or personal problem? What is the biggest, most titanic pain that your customer is experiencing? And once you figure that out, you can go ahead and communicate that either in your knowledge base, or if it's a pain that many customers face and it's a giant titanic pain, you can address it in a blog. And whenever a customer asks you, you could say, I understand, here's a link on your pain and how to solve it. When change threatens, ask what's changed in the world that's making this not work anymore. And document that and tally it up. And if it's tallied, change the limitations of your product to basically tackle solving the pain point more effectively than it solved it before, and write better content on how your product solves the pain point better, and how to use it, and how to continuously make sure that the pain point is solved even months or years after your client implements and continues to utilize the feature. And make sure to make it easily accessible to the client, and the client knows that the piece of content exists. During difficult negotiations, ask, help me understand what constraints you're working within so we can help negotiate a better price for our product that more so aligns with the value that you're seeking and that you see from our product. Even though you'll get fewer deals up front, you'll see far more happier customers in the long run, which will increase your customers who stay for a longer period of time, and it will also increase trust. It's all about value. And I think that this one is especially important for aspiring entrepreneurs. Your product solves one of 3 things, and it enables the 4th. And this is really good because I haven't seen it talked about anywhere else on the internet. But fundamentally, no matter where you go in the world, we all want wealth. And by wealth, I mean a way to help make or save money and also invest it. But just the amount of money that you need, in safety net, to where you can basically get whatever you want consistently. And whatever you want, meaning to live a fulfilling life in terms of meaning, health, and relationships. Health means mental or physical. How do I don't want to say the word maximize, but how do I consistently stay mentally stable and physically stay in shape so my life satisfaction is the best in the future consistently, and also to where my physical health doesn't cause me any issues, which also ties to life satisfaction, because if you have physical health problems, then guess what? Your mental life satisfaction goes down too, because you have more stress. And then relationships. I'm not just talking about romantic or marital. I'm talking about your friends. I'm talking about your fiance, if you have one, your family, etc. Just any kind of connection, business connections too, because we're social beings as Homo sapiens, and we need that. But the thing that most business advice misses is that there are 3 things that are the end goal. So everyone is looking for a meaning, which I have right here, which is simply a reason to act, a reason to get up today, and a motivation to keep going for a long period of time. Specifically, to be productive member of society and do something for a significant amount of time. And if you think about it, the majority of businesses solve this, because if you look at the practical application, we provide cloud-based collaborative workflow automation. Now, what's the problem here? So it's saving time to give them autonomy to focus on strategy instead of busy work. Our AI-powered analytics platform delivers real-time insights. What's the problem? Do better decisions free them from constant firefighting? So why we help teams communicate more effectively? So This basically means better communication frees them from endless meetings, so teammates get less frustrated with each other. As you can see, this improves relationships, improves wealth, improves wealth. What do psychologists do? Improves relationships, improves wealth, improves mental health. Because if you want to become wealthy, unless if you win the lottery, you're going to have good mental health, because being successful requires consistency. If you don't have good mental health, it's really hard to remain consistent in anything. And in addition, that furtherly increases their chances of gaining wealth and being consistent in getting a better body, and also being consistent on working on the best version of themselves so they can get a good relationship. Now, this is a good value proposition, but let's move on to lesson 4. Systems beat willpower every time. Now, what does this mean? I made a system for my videos. So for example, I researched the video via the icon method, which is essentially finding the top videos that have 3 times more views than subscribers. And I also have like a Claude thread where I have a bunch of ideas that I learned from my unique life experience that I can implement into business. And I kind of plug it in to find the idea for each of the videos. And then create the skeleton of the outline / fill it in to where I basically say like the 5 to 3 major points, and then fill it in with supportive information to kind of furtherly prove my points. And then after that, I record the video, and I usually batch record it. And then I edit it, where I use recut to basically take out all the pauses at once, and then CapCut to just take out a couple other things. And then I post it, and then I use Canva to make the thumbnail, I use Cloud to do the title and intro, and I use also ChatGPT sometimes for the title and intro. Now, if I know a little about the topic, it's all the same thing, but instead I write a detailed blog using Cloud and also my library of ideas that I have. So, for everything, it requires a system. And you got to figure out a system to where you can create something in the most efficient and effective way possible. I get it's hard, but yeah, bear with me. Anyways, so other examples include, why did you choose this pricing model? What makes a good hire for your team? How do you prioritize future requests? So you can also build different decision frameworks like sales. What qualifies a lead? Product, what's our process for evaluating new features? How do we handle edge cases? So, you can implement this into your content. Like, for example, if you're talking about the features of your product, you can create like a module which basically talks about this, where it has where you can have a one-liner which basically says, we also implement this framework, and then have 4 different one-liners and bullet points. Anyways, lesson number 5, I would say, is control and connection are the total opposites. So what do I mean exactly by this? Okay, so even if you look it up here, Google AI overview is saying the same exact thing. But if you look back at the days when, for example, when during European colonialization, do you think most of the people being colonized really felt a connection with most of their colonizers? No. Because the colonizers have a little bit of a superiority complex, and they're exploiting the people that they're colonizing. And if you're in the colonizer's shoes, do you really think that you can come into positive terms about that? I think that it's definitely difficult. And it's the same thing in business, where you have to focus on building value instead of trying to control the customer to stay. So for instance, start focusing on preventing loss and So examples of this include annual contracts with aggressive renewal terms. So you could turn that to monthly commitments with clear value delivery, or non-compete clauses with IP restrictions. And you can say making people want to stay because their work is more meaningful. And then customer success preventing churn to customer success focus on delivering out. And when you stop grasping, people stay longer. When you build relationships on value instead of lock in, you attract customers who choose you daily instead of customers who tolerate you contractually. So, for instance, I knew a SaaS founder who restructured their entire pricing model to basically focus on tailoring each of their pricing tiers to different sizes of company sizes within their target market. So one size would choose the smallest. The smallest size would choose like the tier that was aimed for the smallest, the company size with the least employees. The middle tier, because they had more employees, it would choose like the medium-sized company would choose the middle tier, and the largest company would choose the most expensive tier because they each have different needs, and like the pricing and also the plan would have to solve what their exact needs are. But yeah, the pattern connects everything. Even after 60 countries, people are boringly consistent. We all want to build wealth so we can afford to live a good life, maintain health, and form relationships not as end goals, but as foundations for autonomy, meaning to where you're not glued doing something you don't want to do all day. Mental stability and meaning. Meaning you want a motivation to continue doing something for a long period of time without burning out easily. And there's this really interesting saying that I learned from Dr. K and also when I was in India about how if you want the best way to be successful is for your intrinsic and extrinsic motivations to be aligned. So meaning for example, my core values is that I'm a very curious person. I have to constantly be doing something that's challenging me in learning. I'm open-minded, so I have to be around people who aren't closed-minded and also open-minded. And also that I'm a chill guy. So this matters less, but I'd say that the two are a lot more important. And also I gotta be working in a place where there's like a lot of like outdoorsy stuff to do. So you gotta find your core values. What's most important to you? And then fill out the framework, meaning your core values, on how you can essentially attain this through your wealth, health, and relationships. So for example, for me, when I get into a relationship, I'd focus on meeting people who are also down to earth and also curious people, like people who are very curious about the world and naturally like learning, and also lighthearted. And same thing, like I can't work a job where I do the same routine thing every day. I mean, I can, but I have to constantly be learning something because it's an intrinsic motivation. Same thing with health. Whenever I work out, I try to be creative and figure out different ways to optimize my workout routine to where I can live a healthier life. Because I value this thing of continuous improvement, get better every day, because I love to learn and I love self-improvement. And we also all operate better with trust. I like learning more about psychology so I can learn how to increase trust in my relationships better. And also execution is endlessly variable. How you build trust in Bangladesh versus Berlin is completely different. Same thing with autonomy in Indo versus Iceland. And I would say that most businesses fail because they don't remember these fundamental human principles. And they just chase trends, pivot constantly, and reinvent their model. But I think that you just got to focus on, if you want to make money for anyone in general, you got to focus on solving real problems for real people with real money. I stole that from Shane Hummus for their problems in wealth, health, and relationships. And oftentimes, a lot of people, especially like psychologists, for instance, and coaches, are just meaning there are a lot of people who aren't motivated to find those things and optimize those parts of their life, and they just have to basically find meaning, help people find meaning a reason to act or do productive things in the long run that optimize their wealth, health, and relationships and make them better citizens and also more satisfied with their life. And some people are just so intrinsically lost that they don't have that motivation. So some people could have, if they understand psychology very, very well, they can make a boatload of money and also have a ton of life satisfaction if they help people find meaning, a reason to act or be. Anyways, root yourself in unchanging human fundamentals. Execute flexibility based on cultural context, and also message this properly. For instance, I gave some examples through here to where how you can message this and where you can message it. Anyways, how does my target audience actually build trust? Ask yourself that question. And then once you figure that out, you can tailor your content strategy to how they build trust. What invisible battles, and like I really like this framework called pain point, and then where you kind of ruminate on the pain point and what happens if you don't solve it, and then offer a solution. You know, I make that for a lot of LinkedIn posts, and it's good. Which are foundations that the product address, and then address this, and what autonomy does it unlock? And once again, you can say, come out with a pain point, which is the pain that your problem addresses later, build on it, and then explain in your solution from the standpoint of freedom. How does it free me from my problem, my extremely painful and difficult problems? Am I building systems that work without me? For instance, when I get more money, I would hire someone to automate this. Or are you using AI, investing in AI so you can do this a lot faster? Am I building for controller connection? Make sure that you're focusing on continuously preventing loss for your customers rather than trying to control them. Because if you just control them, that will make them unhappy. Anyways, I'd recommend answering these, and the fundamentals don't change. Anyways, that's the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed making this. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe, but if you didn't like it, feel free to leave feedback. All right, peace out. I hope... Oh yeah, and I do offer consulting. So if you're a SaaS company, a B2B SaaS especially, but I do SaaS companies too. I do offer consulting. And if you're interested in consulting and creating a content strategy and also need a copywriter who will increase your demo bookings by 2 times, feel free to fill out the Calendly, click on the Calendly link below and fill out the form, and we can have a talk and about the prices and all that jazz and see if you're qualified.